and welcome to your Asian Pulse TV, an informative and resourceful station. I'm your host, Manny Randhawa. We are broadcasting from the unceded territories of Silvertooth Nation, Mokim, and Kwantlen Nations. We are very blessed for the generosity of the first people of this land who let us share their traditional and sacred land. December 1st is World AIDS Day. Since the pandemic of AIDS in 1980s and 90s, there are over 84 million people who were diagnosed with HIV, AIDS virus, and out of that, about 42 million people died during the pandemic. Today we have highly effective medications and treatments. Antiretroviral therapy. This can lower the amounts of the virus in the body so much that the blood test don't even show it's there. So people with AIDS today can live long and healthy lives. Last week we were talking about 16 days of activism against gender-based violence, which is still very common in all parts of the world, and Canada is no behind. This campaign started in 1991 to call out and renew our commitment to ending violence against women, girls, and 2SLGBTQI+ individuals. Good news is that there are free and confidential services that you can use to call out the domestic violence victims. Feel free to call the line 1-800-583-0808. December 6th is the National Day of Remembrance and Action on Violence Against Women. The day commemorated the anniversary of the Equal Polytechnic Massacre in 1989, when Mark Lippin walked in the classroom and separated the guys from the girls and started shooting. He shot and killed 14 women. This happened 34 years ago, the biggest massacre in our time. These were the young engineering students who got shot because they were seen as women and taking the traditional jobs away from their male counterparts. Let's take a short break and hear some words from our sponsors.
I understand how important it is to have a place called home, and it's frustrating using your hard-earned money on rent. Vic Prasad can make you a homeowner. Get pre-approved services provided to first-time buyers and new immigrants. You can qualify for mortgage even if you have bad credit. Call Vic Prasad now on 604-306-6647. Vic Prasad is associated with Craft Mortgages Canada Incorporated. I understand how important it is to have a place called home, and it's frustrating using your hard-earned money on rent. Vic Prasad can make you a homeowner. Get pre-approved services provided to first-time buyers and new immigrants. You can qualify for mortgage even if you have bad credit. Call Vic Prasad now on 604-306-6647. Vic Prasad is associated with Craft Mortgages.
Arvin's Curry and Cocktail, Indian cuisine. They do catering for all occasions and they do free delivery. Please call 604-515-1070. Address is 420 6th Street, New Westminster. Open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. For deliveries, call 604-515-1070 or arvinscurry.com.
Bollywood Banquet Hall and Conference Center, located at Pile Business Center at 201-8166 128th Street in Surrey. No celebration is too small to accommodate you. They have newly renovated 2 halls to serve you, up to 1,000 guest capacity, top-notch chefs to delight you with delectable and heavenly cuisine. So just call Bollywood Banquet Hall at 604-598-2700 for your events. Thank you, sponsors. Would you like to highlight your business? Or would you like to support us because we've been running this show for the last 25 years? Then don't hesitate and call us today. Now, without further ado, I would like to invite our today's guest.
Hi, welcome to Asian Pulse. I'm your host, Meena J. And in the studio joining me today is Leah Musafir. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me, Meena. Appreciate that.
Yes, wonderful to have you. The most beautiful Leah, always looking gorgeous and beautiful as usual.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, so Leah, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself to begin off with? Who is Leah? Give us a little bit of a background.
So my name is Leah. Actually, my full name is Maliha Muzaffar.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, it's Maliha. So it actually came from, Leah came from because most people couldn't pronounce my name,
Mm-hmm.
right? They were like Maliha, Maliha, Maloha. They
Yeah.
just couldn't do it. And finally, a lot of people started saying Malia.
Okay.
And I'm like, hey, I could just cut that to just Leah. So that's where I got the name, Leah.
Mm-hmm.
So anyways, my background is from Pakistan.
Yeah.
I came here when I was around maybe eight years old or so. Don't quote me on
Okay.
that, but somewhere
So
there.
pretty young.
Yeah, pretty young.
Yeah.
And pretty much I've been here my whole life.
Yeah. And so what do you do right now?
So mostly I'm in real estate. I do makeup and hair as well, but that's very little now. Mostly in real estate. I do some residential, but mostly concentrating in commercial land
Yeah.
developments.
Yeah. And then I know you were also having some donations, collecting donations at this time of year, doing a blanket drive. And also, you know, we've spoke before about kind of involvement with younger girls and the importance of, you know, having this strong figure or a confidence, especially at a young age. I know when I've spoken to you before, not only do you, you know, keep your knowledge up, like you educate yourself, but also apply that into practice. And I know, like, people like me, we know we should do this, but we do the opposite. But I think when I look at you and I speak with you, it's always such a positive vibe of, yes, you know, I've learned this. This is how you deal with things, and this is how I apply it too. So it's not just learning, but applying. Talk a little bit about that. How you know, how it was for you growing up, coming from Pakistan here. Obviously, it's a different country, and you were young. Was it easy to fit in?
Oh, absolutely not. When
Yeah.
we actually first moved here, we were landed immigrants, so we basically just showed up.
Yeah.
And it was very hard because it was my mom and my little brother and I basically, and my dad and my other two siblings were still back home, and we had sponsored them later on. Anyhow, when we first came, we didn't even know English, let alone had any money or had any, you know, relatives. We had one uncle here, but that's about it.
Yeah.
So it was really hard to fit in, actually, especially with the language barrier. I remember going to school and being bullied a lot because I couldn't speak the way they did, and you know, I didn't even dress the way they did because, you know, it was, again, when you're in Pakistan, especially the part that I was from, we didn't wear like pants, shirt regularly, more like suits and stuff, right?
Yeah.
And so I had a really hard time fitting in, did ESL classes, and that gave me a little bit more confidence because now I could speak a little bit better. But yeah, fitting in was probably one of the hardest things. The sense of belongingness for me was so hard because we've left Pakistan, pretty much escaped Pakistan.
Yeah.
Because we were like a minority group in Pakistan, and we really didn't feel like obviously we belonged there. And then we came here, and then now you're in the situation where like you don't really belong here either, right? I was bullied a lot, like I said, especially in elementary school, and it went all the way to high school too, but not as much. But I do remember being bullied a lot in elementary school for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, and even for myself, because I wasn't born in Canada, I was born in England, even though it was England.
Yeah.
Even for me, when I came here, and I came here a bit older, but the same thing, like the fitting in, because it's a different country, different culture, different way of doing things. And I think it is harder to kind of come in new to a different country and fit in. You know, like, when I look at you, or we see Leah, we see this confident woman. I want to know how you got that, especially being bullied. When did you start becoming confident? Like, was it in high school? Like, how the bullying, obviously, it takes effect, and how did you work through that to become this strong, independent woman?
I would say much later than I would have liked to. More so probably after high school, I'd say so. Even in high school, I like I said, I was bullied a little bit, but you know, not as much. It got better as, you know, time went on. I would say more so in university. So I actually didn't even do grade 12. Let me step back a little bit.
Yeah.
I actually didn't even do grade 12. I did an apprenticeship program through like it's a hairdressing program. They have a lot of these programs for kids nowadays. They did back then as well. So I actually did the cosmetology program. So I would go to college instead of grade 12.
Yeah.
And in grade 12, to graduate, you need to actually have English 12 is a mandatory, and the 7 courses are like electives.
Okay.
So I had to do English 12 at night school, and then I would do college in the morning. And so when I graduated high school, I graduated with a high school diploma as well as a hairdressing diploma. So I started working at a salon like straight away, whereas my friends were working at like McDonald's or Walmart to collect money, save money for university or whatever. So I was working at a salon straight away, and then I was also going to university as well. So I started I first actually I did my associate's degree in business management, and I thought, this is not going to be enough. This is not a good enough backup plan. At that time, I just loved hair and makeup. Like I just loved it. I thought I was going to do this forever, right? At that time, of course. Then I was like, you know what, this is not like practical. I need a plan B and like a plan C and whatnot, right? So after I finished my associate degree, I was like, no, I need to actually do my bachelor's. So I went back to school again. And then I started my HR degree, which I also finished. And I feel like the confidence came from the more knowledge I gained over time, the more confident I felt. And it's also weird because now the more I know, the more I feel like I don't know anything, if that makes sense. Because I'm like really addicted to learning now. I just love learning. You'll find me learning from one thing to another. And it could be anything. It's not just one particular thing that I like to learn per se. I think a lot of my friends or people that know me, they call me like the jack of all trades and master of none. And honestly, I'm proud of that. I'm very proud of that. I'd rather be a jack of all trade than, master of none. That is okay with me. So I think that does give you a lot of confidence when you start to like really understand a lot of things, or I started collecting accolades, as I would say. It started to give me that confidence. I think really though, it came more down to doing a lot of inner work. When I started doing my healing journey and going inwards with myself and really starting to understand that, why am I doing the things that I'm doing? Why am I attracting the people that I'm attracting? Why do I talk a certain way? Like I really went inwards a lot for a long time. And I think most of us can relate. We fall in love with our stories, whatever bad story that's happened to us, and then we become the victim of our own story, and we fall in love with it, and we're like, oh, you know what, this happened to me, and that happened to me, and X, Y, and Z, right?
And especially if it's like, you're not in the wrong, but it's like, it is, like you're saying, we want this validation from as many people
as possible.
That, this was wrong, yes, you've been wrong, you've been wrong.
Exactly.
But you get the you're going to hear it, but you're still stuck in the same place.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of us do get stuck in that place where I was for a long time too, where I was like, I've been wronged and this is my story, and I just need that validation from people that, I was wrong, and, oh my God, I'm so sorry that happened to you. And too many of us get stuck in that zone for way too long. And then I was like, that's not really helping anything. I can sit here and repeat the story to a million people, to the whole world. What is it going to ultimately do? Nothing. Right? Maybe you might get like, oh, they're there, like, oh, then what? It's not really healing anything. You're not really working at anything. So I said, you know what, I'm going to take a different route where I'm going to go inwards. I think one of the biggest thing that I think helped me a lot was going inwards and really figuring out, how did you play an active role in your own downfall? And that's where I think a lot of people don't want to do. That is the hard journey. That is the ugly journey. Because once you start realizing, oh my God, I played a huge role in my own downfall. I played a huge role in how people treated me, or, how I was in that certain situation or whatever it may be. So I started really taking accountability for my action, and I'm like, okay, well, I could have done this way too. Maybe I could have set a healthy boundary with this person or whomever that may be, and maybe would have resulted in a different way. So I think that's one of the biggest things for me, it was like a breakthrough for me when I started taking, accountability for my own, my own actions into my own downfall in my own story. So I think that was very liberating to me. And that's something that I do, try to tell a lot of, I do mentor some kids as well. I think I've told you about that before. Specifically like girls, like the youngest girl that I'm, mentoring she's 16. So anyhow, that's one of the things that I try to like teach her as well. That I'm not taking away from the fact that everything that might have happened to you is not valid. It's not, it's not true. That may be true, that may be valid, but, let's try to move on from that and learn from it. And that's kind of where I try to take the best from it, rather than just, playing victim for the rest of our lives. It really doesn't get you anywhere, I think.
And so, moving on from that, and that's, very true. How, I guess it's a bit difficult, like when people don't know how to move on.
Yeah.
I guess, right? So you take that inwards healing journey, and some people want to move on, but they don't know how to move on,
Yeah.
or they keep waiting to see that best or that wrong be should be made right by that person. So
Yeah,
it's
oh, yeah. Like the revenge kind of almost,
Yes,
right? Like
yeah.
this person needs to say sorry to me or needs to acknowledge my pain. But do we really need to hear that?
Yeah.
Do we really, like if you really go inwards and think about it, do we really need this or we just want this? Because again, it will be then validated from that person that, hey, you did wrong to me and you finally admitted it. Right? So
Yeah.
it's like something that we do, it'd be nice to hear for sure. Like, hey, you know, I'm sorry I hurt you, or I'm sorry I did this to you, or whatever. But we may not always get that. And I think that is okay to tell yourself that, hey, that is okay. I'm going to forgive this person anyway for my own sanity, for my own healing. So I don't need to hear that sorry. I mean, I've been wronged several times in my life. And there has been times where I wish that this person could really see how much pain this person has caused me, or trauma this person has caused me, and I wish this person could say sorry to me. But at the end of the day, I'm like, what would that do? What would that fix? Nothing. It's my own, it's the things that I tell myself that mean more to me. You know, I'm like, you know what, it's okay. I need to let go of this pain. I need to let go of this person, or I need to let go of this trauma for my own sanity. I need to start loving myself. It really comes down to self-love.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And I think so, you know, as a woman, as mental health, so in women, how do you see, you know, what is most important, or how do you start to shift in that direction of focusing on yourself? Because I think, you know, generations and generations, women, you know, you're selfless, you have to do everything, take everything on, and not say, you know, not ask for help and like overwhelm yourself. And that is looked at as, you know, we're supposed to be these super women. And then, you know, that gives us a place in society, makes us look good or whatnot. So how do you make that shift?
I do agree with you. I feel like in a lot of ways it is harder for that woman because she just has to look like the superwoman, you know, as a mom, as a worker, or whatever it may be. It's definitely hard. But, you know, I noticed that a lot of women, when they go into this, like, you know, they want to be like feminisms, or they want to be like this strong personality, I think a lot of them don't show vulnerability. They totally get this masculinity power, and now they want to be all this tough woman and show the world that you can mess with me. But I think it's actually beautiful to own your feminism, like be that woman and show some vulnerability, and maybe, you know, not be so hard. It's okay to, I think one of the issue actually even with men is like when they're growing up, you know, when they're growing up, like a lot of people say, oh, boys don't cry, don't cry, don't cry.
Yes.
And I think that's wrong. I think it's healthy to cry. It's another emotion. You know, when was the last time somebody was laughing and you said, don't laugh, that's too much laughing. Like, we don't do that. Then why do we do it when someone's crying? If anything, we should encourage that. Say, it's okay. It's okay. I'm here for you. I'm here to listen. Let it out. It's okay. In fact, provide a safe space for the women or the men, particularly the men, I would say. Because, you know, a lot of time we tell them, don't cry, don't cry. And even for women, I noticed, like, even when I was younger, I did that too. When a friend of mine or whomever would be crying in front of me, like, it's okay, don't cry. I got you. Like, we got this. But, you know, through the healing journey and learning more, I'm like, no. In fact, I should let them cry. It's a normal, let's let it out. It's, why are we bottling everything in and putting like this wall on our heart? Like, we're trying to show the world, like, you can't touch me, I'm titanium. Like, no, we are human at the end of the day. Like, it's okay to show emotion, I think, for men and women too. So I think trying to realize that it's okay to feel things, but how do we go, you know, like, how do we fix these things? Like, you know, whatever it is, the pain that's causing you, how do we fix it? How do we learn from it? That's where the key lies, I think, right?
Yeah. And I think, so, you know, like it's talking about fixing. We're always looking at somebody else has to come and fix it.
Yeah.
Somebody else has to come and fix me
for it or something,
and my situation. But like you said, it's the focus within of taking accountability, taking responsibility of how, you know, I have to be responsible for how I'm going to fix my situation or myself, or how I'm going to deal with this. So and you said you mentor young girls. What do you usually see? I guess nowadays, obviously, there's through the generations, through years, like everything changes. The way people are portrayed. Now we have more social media. What do you feel are more so kind of pressing issues in teenagers?
So some of the girls that I mentor, or actually even in general, people that I see, is a lot of generational trauma. It really comes down to a lot of that, and a lot of people that didn't feel loved somewhere along the line. And with younger people, that's what I see the most. Like when I speak to young girls or even younger, like actually even older people too. Not even, I just talk about younger people because that's who I mentor, but I've spoken to a lot of older people too. And it really came down to how, their mom didn't do this, or the dad didn't do this, or the mom did do this, or the dad did do this, and they felt abandoned, or they felt that they weren't loved, or they were not special to their parents, or they had too much whatever, right? So that's something I've noticed across the board with most people. Like there's somewhere along the line they didn't feel loved by someone that was very important to them, either like a parent figure, mom, dad, or whomever it may be, right? So that's when I read a book, and I've told you about it too, called 5 Love Languages. And that was it was like a light bulb went off on my head. I was like, oh my God, this makes sense. So I think that if you really truly love someone, let's say you're a mom, right? So of course you love your children. I wouldn't doubt it for a minute that you do. But let's pretend for a second that your daughter doesn't feel that you love her and you love your son more. She feels that way, right? Just for a minute, let's pretend that. And of course that would hurt you as a mother, because you would say, no, I love you guys equally. I'm sure you'd think that, right? Because that's what I've heard from other parents as well. I'm like, no, I love my parents, like my children. I do everything possible, like, under the sun for them. Exactly, provide for them. But children don't see that as love. They see that as you're responsible. Well, you had me, you're supposed to take care of me, you're supposed to feed me, or whatever. They don't particularly translate that as love, right? So when you read this book, you'll start to understand that there's different languages of love that people speak. So for example, let's say, your son's love language is like gifting or something, where he feels really loved when you keep buying him things that he loves, like, I don't know, Nintendo or whatever they play these days, or whatever it may be, right? But your love language is, acts of services. Like you do things for him. You're constantly doing things for him or whatever. And you're thinking, I do everything for you and you still don't appreciate anything. And then there's that clash, and he's like, no, you do things for me because you're mom. You're supposed to do things for me. Like if you want me, if you want me to feel loved, you should, buy me X, Y, Z, or whatever it may be, right? So I think it's really important to learn the other person's love language, or whoever it may be, whether it's your child or your, partner or friend, your mom and dad, whatever it may be, right? If you really care to understand that person, understand how they need to be loved, and then love them that way. Because that's how they're going to feel loved. So I was like, okay, well, if this person, if I claim to love this person, whoever it is, my mom or my dad or whoever, I want to really understand their love language first. What is it? Is it acts of services? Is it, a touch? Some people just love being cuddled or touched or whatever, right? And then, delivering that, not just learning and then not doing anything about it, delivering it, and then make them feel loved. That's how I think it's so simple, but it's a very effective. I've used it and I'm like, oh,
it is simple, but you know what? It's like, the example that you've used is so common because especially I think as parents or, if your older sibling or whatever, you feel like, oh, you've done all this and, you should appreciate.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I think that's where the disconnect happens because you're not on the same page in terms of like you said, the love language. It's been really good to have you in the studio, a really meaningful conversation, so thank you, Leah, for being on Asian Pulse, and
thank you so much for having me.
to have you back again sometime.
For sure. Thank you so much.
Thank you for watching Asian Pulse. Stay tuned for the second segment.
Thank you, Michael. Please take an unwrapped toy to Riverside Banquet Hall on Saturday for the toy drive or drop it off at any Vancity Credit Union. Upcoming events. Fundraiser for Christmas. This Christmas fundraiser is taking place on December 9th at Royal Banquet Hall in Burnaby at 7845 Edmund Street, and the door opens at 6:30 p.m. For tickets and more information, please call Nia at 604-603-4684 or Jose Chauhan at 779-892-7388. The proceeds from this year's fundraising will go to Moving Forward Counseling Society. Canadian Empowered Women of Fiji Foundation presents 2022 Christmas Dinner and Dance on December 2nd, 2022 at Khanna Banquet Hall in Surrey. Please bring an unwrapped toy for the toy drive. All toys collected will be donated to BC Children's Hospital Foundation. For more tickets and information, please call 604-825-8261 or 604-831-0240.
Lower Mainland Multicultural Family Support Services and Asian Pulse are joining hands together to celebrate Women's Empowerment Day to help children and women in need. Come join us on December 11th at Grand Taj Banquet Hall for an early brunch, 11 to 3, and lots of activities, booths, and interesting events. For more information, please call Kamila Singh at 604-537-5123. Thank you.
Sahas Community Service Society. They provide helpline for people who are in crisis and need to talk to someone. They offer critical support, information, and resources for individuals and families in need. The number is 604-900-9221. Everything will be kept confidential. Victor Drive, which is a toy drive, and it's taking place on December 10th at Riverside Banquet Hall in Richmond. This is their 16th toy drive. Victor passed away at a very tender age due to sleep apnea. He used to secretly buy the toys and take them to BC Children's Hospital each and every year without his name or fame. He was named a man with a golden heart. You can drop off your unwrapped toys at Riverside Banquet Hall or call Harvey Cooner at 604-671-4180 or email him at harveycooner1@gmail.com. I ran out of time today, but I hope you enjoyed the show as much as I do hosting it for you. If you have missed any of our episodes, you can watch it on the YouTube channel. And if you missed today's show, you can watch it again tomorrow at 8:30 and again on Saturday at 5:30 p.m. Before I leave today, I would like to leave you with these thoughts. Everything we hear is an opinion, not a fact. Everything we see is a perspective, not a truth. With that, have a wonderful week ahead. I'm your host, Manny Randhawa, and I'm signing off with lots of love and wishes for this festive season.